We're back on the Python series. So in the last video we kind of set up our atom or whatever you wanted to use. So if you're using atom, you'll probably pop up and it'll probably look a little bit something like this. At the moment there is something hiding just underneath my bit there, saying there's one package available to update, so we could do that. It is only file icon, so it's not important, so we're just going to crack on. We're going to go File, New File, and we're going to make sure we save it first. What should we call this? Let's call this just tutorial. For me, I have to put .py. I think if you use Atom you have to put .py. If you're using IDLE, then I don't think you do, unless you've got it set up on Windows that you have to, in which case it's up to you. I personally do. But anyway, I think in this video we're going to start off by making a little menu, and then what we're going to do is have our menu branch off into loads of different like programs almost. So everything's almost in one place, if that makes sense, because with Python, you know, I could do one whole program in one day, in 1 hour even. Hour? Yeah, probably about an hour. So instead we're going to just put them all in one nice program. So to start off with, just a little point, to start with this tutorial you kind of need to have some sort of basis in a programming language, preferably Python or GameMaker. Either one will do, because I'll be talking in both terms. But yeah, we'll crack on and start. So the first thing we're going to want to do is ask the user for an input. Now this is something in GameMaker you don't really tend to do, but in Python it's quite common. So we're going to set a variable first to hold it, just to make things simple. We'll call it variable, equals, and we're going to do input, and this is how you get a user to input a value. So if we put some sort of prompts in here, so for the time being we'll just put prompt, just to make things really simple. This is how you would lay out an input statement. So now we're going to go through and make these a little bit more specific. So we're going to make this option, since we're doing a menu, and this is going to be choose option, just like that. You will also notice I'm saving as I go along, just because it's kind of easier. Right, so here we have our basic option. So if we were to run this right now, I'm just going to make sure we go nice and slow for this. What do we call this? On ideally you just press F5, nice and simple. So you see here we get this little prompt saying choose option, and we put in a number. At the moment it won't do anything. So what we now want to do is have a list of options printed before we do this. So on GameMaker, what you do is you would draw text to screen, and it would take a little bit of time. You'd have to put in quite a lot. Because this is a console based language, all you need to do is just put print, and then put in your little prompt. So we'll maybe do one, let's think, I'm not entirely sure what our options are going to be yet, so let's just make a little list like this. So we want 1, 2, 3, 4, and these are going to be our options. Now immediately you can see here hydrogen has just about picked up because it's been just updated. We have a big issue here. For example, also you can see that it's not highlighted properly. So the big issue here is Python does not like things on separate lines. So to get around this, what we're going to do is we're going to put a backslash like this, and you can see this is now turned into green, which is saying that it is in those, what do you call them, speech marks. So if we add loads of them here, you can now see that this whole thing is in speech marks, so all the way down from here to here. Another alternative to this is you can get rid of this. You can add 3 speech marks and 3 speech marks, and that I believe does the same thing. So now if we run this, you'll see it's kind of not quite what we want. actually the 3 speech marks does do what we want. There's other ways to go around this, but we'll keep it like this for the time being. I think also what we'll do is we'll put menu at the top. It's not really a menu, but whatever. Just cancel this. And we'll run it again. You can see now we've got menu, 1, 2, 3, 4 options, and then we've got our choose option. So this should hopefully be relatively straightforward. We've gone through the most simple functions in Python, print and input, in a little bit more depth. Now we're going to go to something that is quite similar to Python. Python? Not Python, GameMaker. We're going to go on to a few if statements here, and they're virtually identical, to be honest. So I'm just going to go through them quite quickly. So seeing as we've only got 4 options, we really only want option to be within 1 to 4. Now to do this, we need to first of all change this. Now this is something that we don't see much in GameMaker. It does it a lot for us, but in Python everything has, and most of the languages, everything has 3 main data types. So there's string, which is just letters and numbers, but it's in speech marks like that, which our input is and our print is. There's integers, which are whole numbers, and there's floats, which are decimal numbers. So in this case, this is going to be a string, but because it's a number 1 to 4, we want it to be an integer. So to do this, we just write int, and that converts it into an integer. Now we can say if option, and this is where it's going to get a little bit different, in range 1 to 4, then we can continue. And we're going to, just for the time being, print success. I'm not sure if that's how you spell it. So let's talk through this if statement, because it is slightly different to what we would do in GameMaker, but I think it makes a lot of sense, to be honest. All we're saying here is if the option, which is the input here, is in the range 1 to 4, then we continue. Now if we were to run this, if we put in 2, let's say, success. What if we put in 0? No, it's not a success. It's not in the range 1 to 4. 1, success. How about 4? 4 is not success. That's worth noting, actually, because when you say range, that is not including the upper bound for whatever reason. So if we run this again, now put in 4, success. If we put in 5, it's not a success. For some reason, if you put in 1, that is absolutely fine. So it's kind of looking at the 1 to 5, not including 5, so non-inclusive. So we can get rid of the print success. So this is now a little bit of what we call validation. So we've got our menu printed here. We've now asked the user for an option, and we've converted that option into an integer, or a whole number. And then we said if that option is within the range 1 to 5, because that's our only menu options, then we're going to continue. Now from here, in GameMaker, what we'd do is we'd write a switch statement. We'd switch option. Now this is all well and good, it's highlighted here, but it's not actually a thing in Python. Unfortunately, we have to use lots of if statements, but I'll show you how we can use them a little bit differently. So if option, GameMaker would use 1 equals. Really you shouldn't, you should use 2 if you're checking something. So here this is setting something. If you're checking something, it should be double equals. In Python they have a very distinct difference, and you can't use 1 equals here and you can't use 2 equals here. So if option equals 1, also we use hashtag for comments, do something. We do actually need to put something there, otherwise it will error, so I guess we'll just comment this out and put print, and we'll just put H or something. Now this is where it is a little bit different. In GameMaker we would use else if, which does work, I believe, but in Python they've added a nice short version which is elif, and it's the same thing. And then we can just do this, and this is the equivalent of a switch statement now. So now we can see we have, this is all the same, but now we're saying if the option equals 1, we're going to print H. If the option that they choose is equal to 2, we're going to print D. can also add this on here. Whoa. So now if we were to run this, if we put in 1, we should get the output of H, and if we put in 2, we should get the output of D. And this is how you can operate a basic menu. You could just keep adding options here and just copy this and change the number and whatever it does in the middle. So for the time being, we're just going to comment these out, and in the future videos we're going to add some operations into this, and we're going to turn this whole thing into a function, or what we call in GameMaker a script. So anyway, that was the first video in the Python tutorial series. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, or do what you want to do, and I'll talk to you in the next one.